Hello, everybody, and thank you for taking the time and having the interest in learning how to sell more franchises faster than ever and to the right people. We believe there is a better way to find the right franchisees. So we're going to take the next 45, 50 minutes and talk about how the Navigator works with franchisors to find the right people and sell franchises faster than ever before. And just a couple of things. My name is Craig Slavin. I'm the president and founder of the Navigator and of Franchise Central. I personally have been involved in the franchising space a little over 40 years. I've played a lot of roles. I've sat in every chair around the conference table with the exception of one, and that is I've never been a franchise owner. And that's because I clearly understand the fact I'm not the right profile. I don't want to follow rules. I want to make up rules. I've been in the operations side. I've been on the marketing side. I've been on the recruitment side. I've even been president and CEO of a number of franchisors. And I've also had the pleasure of creating some concepts from scratch. So this is the fun stuff of what I've done in my career. I was called on to help create the Disney store with Stephen Burke for Disney. I helped Ron Rohner conceptualize the Apple stores. I was the person that created the business model for AT&T prior to the divestiture. We've done health clubs for Bally Total Fitness, new business units for Hewlett-Packard, all sorts of things. And the interesting thing about it is that what I've learned is that franchising in general, as it's gone through its evolution, has gone from being top-down to being bottom-up. Top-down meaning it's no longer about how good your products or your services are. That's table stakes in today's economic environment. You have to have a good product or a good service in order to compete at the consumer level. What is important today is the quality of the people that are delivering your products or services to the end user for usage or consumption. So what we've learned is that it's all about people. It's not about the product. It's not about how good the pizza is. Not about how good the maid service is. It's about the quality of the people that are providing that product or service to the end user. So that being said, I want to make sure that we all get on the same page. And that is, all franchise buyers are alike, aren't they? Am I right? Doesn't everybody buy for the same reason? Doesn't everybody wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to buy a franchise just like everybody else? The answer is no. The answer is every single person is wired differently. Everybody has, just like computer software, everybody has their own source code. And in fact, we even call it a personal source code in the Navigator. So think of this, that when a buyer comes to you, you can't treat one buyer the exact same way you treated the other buyer and the exact same way you're treating the buyer that's going to come in tomorrow. You need to be able to get inside and understand who these people are before you can establish deeper relationships with them, before you can connect with them, and before you can resonate with them. Now, we've had the pleasure of being selected by a lot of companies in a lot of different industries to help them figure out the people part of growing the business. Yeah, I'm a believer, and I've put a lot of franchise programs together. I'm an absolute believer that the very things that cause success or failure in franchising has nothing to do with franchising. That if you really think about it, in order to be a franchisor, all you need is a franchise agreement, an FDD. You need to be registered in the registration states, and you need to have an operations manual or at least the table of contents for the FDD, and theoretically, you are a franchisor. But it really goes deeper. It goes deeper into what causes success or failure in franchising, and we're going to talk about that today because a lot of it deals directly with the people and bringing on the right people. So the agenda today is we'll talk about best practices for franchise recruitment. And we have, and it's not us saying it, it's outside third-party clients and statisticians that say we have a 90 to a 95% accuracy rate in identifying high performers for each of our clients. We're going to talk about targeted lead generation, more effective closing rates, higher unit level sales volumes, faster franchisee ramp-up time, and how life and business coaching makes a difference in the success or failure of a franchise operator. So let's move right to the 90 to 95% accuracy rate. And it's all because of a profile. It's knowing in advance who is your targeted profile. What motivates them to buy? And if you ask 5 different franchise buyers, what's motivating you? You're going to get 5 different answers. So you need to be able to elicit from them what it is. It's not about criteria, and it's not about money. When I ask a lot of franchisors, what's your profile? Well, it's somebody that has to have this much net worth, this much liquid income, between this age, between this. It's not about demographics. It's not about psychographics. And honestly, it's not about the money. One of my favorite expressions is, just because somebody can afford the airplane does not mean they're qualified to be the pilot. So it goes deeper. And what's really more important is that franchising is all about people doing business with people. You need to understand and recognize the fact that you're recruiting and training the whole person, not just the person who's giving you the money and not just the person who's going to run the business on a daily basis, but that whole person, what happens in their life. So we recommend creating a profile for your franchise operators, for your managers, for corporate-owned locations. We even have one client that insisted we create a profile. They're at limited menu food service, that we create a profile for their cash registers because they understand that relationships are made or broken at the cash register. Sales can be increased at the cash register. Once you develop this profile, and we'll talk about developing the profile, but once you develop this profile, all inbound candidates get measured to the profile. See, here's the biggest problem. And I was a part of this until we developed the Navigator 18 years ago. Every time we would sell a franchise, we'd scratch our heads wondering whether or not that person was a good fit or not. And the problem is you don't know until 18 to 24 months down the line. And at that point, if they're not a good fit, you've got trouble because they've eroded market share. They're delivering an inferior product or service to the end user. And when you try to come back in and regain that market share, it's much more expensive than ever before. Wouldn't it be nice to know instantly, up front, on a predictive basis, if a candidate resembles the high performer profile? We'll show you the validation that our clients have when this happens. Creating the profile is not a difficult, time-consuming, nor expensive process. It is a science. We have refined it over the last 18 years, and we've had huge success with hundreds of brands. And again, we'll develop profiles for a single unit or a multi-unit franchisee, as well as general managers, sales managers, assistant managers, anywhere we can create the profile through benchmarking. Speaking of benchmarking, this comes from Professor Robert St. Louis, Professor of Mathematics, Statistics, and Information Systems from Arizona State University. He went through a number of our projects and actually went through exactly what we did. The end result was he was able to give us a testimonial that says, by benchmarking high, mid, and poor performing operators and their employees using the Navigator proven science and model, you will identify 90 to 95% of future high performers with a high degree of predictability. You know, it's that kind of validation that makes us feel what we're doing is right. But what's also interesting, and what makes us feel that we're doing the right thing, is when the clients tell us. We just recently did a project for a company called Window Genie. They had 74 franchisees. 70 of them participated in the initial benchmarking analysis. And according to Rick Nanell, when he looked at the results and he saw the profile that we had created for him, He said, and after going through all of his numbers, we were right on at 95%. But more important, what he was able to do with his financial people was go back through and identify, what does that really mean? And what it really means is that when they select the right candidate that fits the high performer profile, on average, it generates $120,000 more in annual sales over less qualified candidates. So not only is he now finding the right candidates, but he knows that the average unit sales are going to be higher. But what happens is, if we go back to that one-size-fits-all, and I have to tell you, this is a problem that's rampant in franchising, and I'm doing everything in my power to change it. We treat every franchise buyer as if they're the same. We put every franchise buyer into a pipeline. We send them emails. It's all the same email that we send out in mass. If they do this, we send that. If they do this, we send that. Without understanding and recognizing the fact that each person learns differently. They understand differently. They have different motivations. So when you understand the profile, now you can start using the correct language, the wording, the visuals, the pictures, the colors, and the tonality so that it resonates with the buyer. One thing I've also found in franchising is that franchise representatives in the recruitment side push information to the buyer consistently, the same information to the buyer, instead of eliciting from the buyer what it is they need to have in order to make a decision. They all respond differently. And the way in which they respond is differently, and the way in which you communicate with them should be different. So without knowing who you should be talking to and talking to them all in the same way, we found and we discovered that a lot of companies are actually alienating the very people they should be attracting. The other thing that we found is that in a lot of cases, the franchise salespeople and their profile conflicts and is not harmonious with the profile of the buyer. So we help connect the dots in that area as well. So now let's talk about targeted lead generation. We have a profile, but are you casting a wide net? Are you really looking at how to find these people, or are you just putting out a wide net and gone fishing? Are you catching a lot of fish? Are you plucking the right fish from the net? How do you even know which is the right fish to pluck from the net? The good fish may be getting away, or you may not be fishing where your fish are. We can change all that. We change all that by understanding behavior. Now, I'm not going to get into a lot of detail. We have extensive training programs that go into each profile, but the Navigator basically has 4 profiles. The accomplisher, which demonstrates and reveals to us the leadership and the drive of the individual. The influencer, which is the sales and the communication skills. The associator, which is the people attributes, the interpersonal skills. And the contributor, which is leadership. Everybody has all 4 profiles. What everybody has that makes them all different is that some have a different dominant and some have different subordinates. So here's basically what we do without getting into a lot of detail. We go into the existing population of the franchise operators, or we look at similar models. And on a scale of 0 to 100%, statistically, we come up with a valid profile of where the high performers in that particular brand fall. Each candidate then takes the assessment, which takes less than 10 minutes. You see the results within 2 to 3 seconds, and you can tell instantly, does this person fit the profile or not? So it's basically a gap analysis against the high performer profile that you can tell instantly, is this person going to be a good fit or not? Now, I've been guilty of this in the past myself. I've spent a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of effort chasing down a candidate that really wasn't a good candidate. We've all done it until now, until the Navigator. So generating leads, as you know, in the franchising space, is not an easy process, nor is it inexpensive. And what's happening today is there's more franchisors out there than ever before, and everybody's trying to get to the same buyer. So we have to come up with something that's a USP, a unique selling proposition. But not knowing where to run the ads, where to send your emails, where to have your PR articles published is exhausting your budget and not even generating the right lead. Knowing your profile will result in a profile-based strategy, and you will know who they are, where they are, what they read, what they watch, how to communicate with them, what colors to use, the words to use, the tonality, where they go, how to reach them. It's a whole different lead generation strategy. Now, let me give you an example of how this actually works in real time. We were retained by Yum a number of years ago because they were generating a lot of leads, but they weren't closing deals, and the performance at the unit level wasn't great. Well, this is what they were using before. Put these big brands to work for you. That's all they had to sell, was how great Yum was. Well, you know what? That was not resonating with the people. We went through, created a profile for them, a high performer profile, which was a dominant accomplisher. So we redid the ads. Start with your drive. That resonates with the accomplisher. Add our brands and write your own success story. Turned their entire program around. Sears, big brand. When they converted from the catalog stores over to the hometown stores, they thought they were looking for a husband and wife team, because what they were accustomed to in the catalog stores was really a family, very accommodating kind of relationship. Well, what happened was they converted 136 catalog stores over to their new retail footprint store when they decided to get out of the catalog business, and stores they thought were going to do well because of demographics, psychographics, traffic count, didn't. Stores they didn't think were going to do well did, and it was because of the people. And we showed them who to look for, how to attract them, how to communicate with them. We redid the training programs, redid the websites, redid everything. And to this day, it represents over $2 billion. It's now its own separate privately held company. And before they spun it off, the analysts at Sears Holdings went back and revalidated the profile that we had created for Sears. And it still works today. Another story is Great Clips for Hair. When we were brought in 1999, they basically were an atrophy. They were selling a lot of franchises, but to the wrong people. They were selling franchises to people that were dominant influencers that would get into the salon business because they liked the status and the prestige, but they couldn't run the business. And the business model for Great Clips was multiple units. We identified their profile and came up with the fact that it's a businessman, it's a dominant accomplisher, associator, contributor. We created an executive's business decision as a marketing strategy, and the rest is history. And Charlie Simpson at one of the Franchise Update leadership conferences revealed about 6 years ago that the Navigator stopped the bleeding. Barkbusters is a great story. They have dog trainers, dog behavioralists, and they were selling franchises, and even the color green catered to somebody who's a high contributor and educator. But the people couldn't sell. So we identified who their high performers were. It's a salesperson, redid their entire marketing strategy to top dogs wanted, be the leader of the pack. All of a sudden, they're selling franchises to the right people, and guess what? They've actually sold out the country. There are no more Barkbusters for sale unless it's a resale, and that resale still goes through the Navigator. So knowing the best practices, developing a targeted lead generation strategy results in more effective closing rates. And here's the reasons why. Your attraction strategy, who you're looking for, is going to come based on the profile. They're then screened against your own unique profile. So think of it this way. The Navigator is not a generic psychometric tool. It actually becomes customized to every client that we have. And every client has their own unique profile. And then you can convert somebody who has interest to a candidate. It's really that simple. We take from having interest to being a fit or not a fit. If they're a fit, they become a candidate. And the results when somebody takes the Navigator is basically a green light, yellow light, or red light. Green light means high potential. Yellow light means acceptable potential. Red light means caution potential, which means you really have to think twice about granting, awarding, or selling a franchise to that particular candidate. Now, the Navigator itself is real simple to use. Once we create the profile, all of our clients have a branded, a white-labeled survey. We ask the questions that are appropriate to that brand. It takes less than 10 minutes to complete, and when they click on Submit, you, the franchisor, and whoever you want on the recipient list, and they receive the results. The results are called a personal development chart within a matter of 2 to 3 seconds. Now what you're talking to with the clients and with the candidates is not selling them a franchise. Now you're talking about whether or not each of you is a good fit. And that's the way we educate our clients to send out the link by saying, okay, Joan, thank you for your interest. We're proud of our concept. We understand that you're interested, but just as you'd like to see if we're a good fit for you, we'd like to see if you're a good fit for us. And please take this survey. It's not a test. There's no right or wrong answers, but we're going to find out whether or not we're a good fit for each other. And it shows it instantly within a matter of seconds. Then what happens is, and I have to admit, I can't take the credit for it, this came from Ace Hardware about 6.5, 7 years ago. Ace Hardware said to us, wow, this is great. We're learning more about our people than we ever thought we would, but we want to go deeper. We want to go deeper into the DNA of the individual so that we can better accommodate them as they move through the process of becoming an ACE owner. Well, this is now available to all of our clients. It's the personal development chart, and what it does is it takes the high performer profile, how they score and compare to that profile, and then drills down into 9 critical attributes. Entrepreneurship. How entrepreneurial are they? And by the way, in franchising, you don't really want the entrepreneur. You want somebody with entrepreneurial qualities. You don't want the entrepreneur. They're going to create havoc within your organization. Are they strong leaders? Do they know how to sell? Can they run the business? Do they understand the accounting and back end part? Are they good at customer service? Are they going to be able to follow our format, our operational manual? Are they good at delegation, time management, and people development? So basically what the Navigator does is it does the analysis compared to the high performer profile. It drills down into these 9 categories, goes across the 4 profiles, identifies if it's a strength, if it's a weakness, or if it's an area of focus. So now you as a franchisor know in advance not only is somebody a good fit, but where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and where we have to work with them. So now you can begin filtering interested parties from candidates, know exactly how to communicate with them because you know they're dominant, you know they're subordinates, better understand their needs and their buyer motive. So these are quotes from the clients. This is not from us. This actually came from Kurt Landwehr and Supercuts. The Navigator takes the guesswork out of who will and will not be a good fit for our system. Across the board, we get from our clients that about 36 to 40% of the leads that they generate are disqualified because they don't resemble the profile. Well, again, I was guilty of it. I would chase everybody that came through the door, and I'd waste my time. Now you have the insight, and I wished I had had the insight then to focus in on those people that have the right stuff. And that's what the clients are telling us. We stopped wasting our valuable time with the wrong candidates for our system. As a result, closing rates for our salespeople are higher. We're closing more deals faster than ever before because the connectivity is there. The buyer doesn't feel like they're being sold. So you need to decide how productive you are or not. So it's really a very simple exercise, putting aside the cost of lead. Look at the number of new leads per week, per month that you're working, the number of responses to each lead per week, per month, the time it takes you to respond to them, the calls, the emails, the time spent following up on the leads. What is your value? What is your cost per hour? And that'll give you your total cost per time. So you can decide if you're productive or not by taking A, multiplying B, multiplying C, divided by D, multiplied by E, and that'll tell you whether or not you're being productive with your time or not. And I can share with you the entire metrics here change when you're using the Navigator. But I'd like to talk about the results. The results are the best part. We can talk about the process and all that stuff, and we've got absolute superb training programs. We have certified coaches that work with our clients and conduct these training programs. But really what happens is the higher unit sales is what makes the difference. Now, I have to tell you, this is research we did not do. I received a phone call from a VP of operations recently, and she said, I need your help. We need more of the Navigator. They're not using it enough. I said, why are they not? I can't tell you, but here's the research I've done. She said, I went back to the 23 former franchise operators who've departed our system, and look, they don't even come close to the Navigator profile. And I looked at then at the 23 top operators within our system, and they fit the profile. So really what they were doing in the recruitment side was selling franchises to poor performers. She pleaded with me. She says, I'm expected to turn these people into high performers, and it's not going to happen. So in some cases, franchise unit sales increased 38% in the first 18 months. That comes directly from a client. A lot of clients realize anywhere from 18 to 22% increases in same-store sales, and this is a testimonial that just came in the door within the past couple of weeks. This is a company that's now been using the Navigator for a couple of years, and what they noticed is that the first year sales of new franchisees jumped from an average of $420,000 to $550,000 because of better selection of their franchise operators. So now let's talk about how does that affect franchisee ramp up? What happens? Well, not only do sales happen faster than ever before, but what we're finding from our clients, and we just got another testimonial, excuse me, that their initial break-even times for their new franchisees was reduced by a third. Has nothing to do with their training program, has nothing to do with their support program, has everything to do with the quality of the people that they're bringing on board. And let's talk about the quality of people, because here's a mistake that franchisors continue to make. And again, this is my mission in life. This is exactly what I'm looking at doing and making my mark in franchising. And if you think about it and think about your own franchise program, when you bring in a new franchisee, you put them through an initial training program. They go through an ongoing training program. They're assigned a field support or a business consultant. But everything that's done is done in regards to operations, procedural, tactical, and processes related to that business. Think about it. The training program that they are given starts off with insert the key in the lock, open up the door, crank up the lights, crank up the heat, crank up the grills, crank up the ovens, do this, do that, do this, do that. It covers the various day parts of the business, and then at the end of the day, guess what it does? It rolls it backwards to insert the, shut the light, shut the grills, shut the ovens, do this, do that, insert the key in the lock, and go home. Well, the mistake franchisors are making is that you're not dealing with the whole person. You can't deal with the whole person because you don't know much about the whole person. So what the Navigator does is it gives you the insight into who you're dealing with and what's important to them. And as a whole person, it includes their personal life, their history, their health, their overall state of mind, and their interpersonal skills. And your business consultants, your operations people, your training people are not skilled, educated, and trained on how to coach this person from a life standpoint. It's not their money and skills and knowledge base. If they're a happy camper, if they're a happy franchisee, they're going to perform better. And it's this whole person that needs to be cultivated and strengthened in order to develop a sustainable organization, one that's going to grow and one that's going to keep getting and attracting and gobbling up market share. So the training and the support needs to focus in on the individual person, who they are, what's important to them. And when this happens, the changes and the results are incredible. I'll give you, for instance, this is research according to the Manchester Consulting Group. They did a study of executives, and the Economic Times reported this. Coaching, life coaching, dealing with the person as a whole person, resulted in an ROI of almost 6 times what it cost, a 77% improvement in the relationship, a 67% improvement in teamwork, a 61% improvement in job satisfaction, and a 48% improvement in quality. Real world differences. It's all about people. So in summary, your success, your franchise sales success, is all about building your brand with the right people. It's not about putting points on the board. It's about putting points on the board with the right people. And the key is none of this has anything to do with franchising, yet it has everything to do with whether or not a franchisor is going to be successful or not. I mean, I can't tell you the number of stories that I've seen. There was one in the Wall Street Journal about 5 years ago about an up-and-coming franchise company that was just selling franchises left and right. And they were part of the Fast 55 in one publication. And they were franchisors to watch in another publication. And they were selling franchises. And they were talking about, we just sold this, and we just sold this, and we just sold this, and we just sold this. So, 6 weeks after that, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal about how this company filed for bankruptcy. And they filed for bankruptcy, and they admitted they outgrew their ability to service the franchisees, and they admitted they sold franchises to the wrong people. It has everything to do with developing the right profile, building your growth strategy and your support systems around that profile. Now, we'll follow up with you in the next few days to discuss how you can sell more franchises faster than ever and to the right people. What I'd like you to do is think about the topics that we've just covered and identify which ones are the most important to you so that we understand what your needs are and how we can help you to address those needs. But remember, it's all about results. The increases of sales in the first 18 months of 38%, nothing to do with the business model. Everything to do with the people. We take the guesswork out, sales increase, break-even time increases, and it's all about selling franchises faster than ever to the right person, to the right profile. That's the Navigator. That's how you sell more franchises faster than ever and to the right people. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out directly to me. We can answer your questions relatively quickly. We'd love to work with you. We worked with a lot of companies. We have a lot of testimonials, but the best testimonials, the one that's going to come from you. Thank you.